So what the 5 realities mean and what they are.
Okay, well, I'll go over them and then I'll explain them. And the first, your spiritual essence. Okay, that's you're either masculine or feminine. And then you have your physicality, the world that you live in. And then you have your personality, which is your personal reality in the world that you are in, what you make of it. And then you have your soulality, which, of course, is all the history in your soul that you've carried from lifetime to lifetime. And then you have your spirituality, which is not religion. Okay? It teaches, spirituality teaches acceptance of ourselves and others, as where religion is a belief system that teaches how different we are and shows us how intolerant we are of those that are not of the same belief systems.
You got to say that again, because I think that's powerful. So explain this, because I agree with you.
Okay, and I'll say it slower.
Yeah.
Spirituality
really
is not religion. Spirituality is the God-Goddess energy that teaches acceptance of self and others. Religion is a belief system that teaches how different we are and shows us how intolerant we are of those that are not of the same belief systems we were raised in. Okay?
Excellent.
And I think that religion is a wonderful base to have, and then you grow from that. You take what you need from it, and then you grow from there, because when you go into the spiritual part, you're far more tolerant and far more accepting of yourself and others. Yes. And it brings in a lot more passion. It brings in a lot more peace. And, it's kind of like you can't do judgment and passion or compassion at the same time. You just can't do. So you do either one or the other. So I teach people, remember, if you're judging, you're not being compassionate. So that's something to work on. But on the confusing part with the communications for people, your spiritual essence, you either come in as a masculine essence or a feminine essence. It has nothing to do with gender. But the masculine essence processes everything through their mental body, and the feminine essence processes everything through their emotional body. So now if you have two people talking, and one is trying to explain their feelings to a mental essence, the mental essence doesn't have a clue what you're talking about. Yeah. Because they're all very logical and very linear and very factual, and the other person is going, but that's not how I feel, but I don't want you to feel, I want you to think. So if they understand that about each other, then they find a new way of talking to each other. It's finding out if they are, which one they are. Usually I can tell people when I'm talking to them, or I don't even have to talk to them, if they are a feminine or a mental. I mean, I could tell you which essence you are if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you're a feminine essence.
Yes.
Our job is actually to be able to, if we come in as, I'm a very strong mental essence, but I have developed the feminine side, so the key is to bring it all into balance.
Yes.
And that way you can
really
switch
is true.
Yes, and you can switch whichever way, whatever the situation calls for. You can bring in the creativity, the compassion, the fun, and do all of that. And if you have to be analytic, you can be that, and it's a mixture of both, and then it's very well balanced. And our physical world involves all our senses, our touch, our taste, sight, sound, smell, and our environment, and oftentimes we don't even use all of those.
Nope.
And oftentimes we don't listen to our intuition. In hindsight, we know it was right. But the two things that never lie to you is your heart and your intuition. They just do not, they don't know how.
Nope.
Because they're part of your spiritual body, and they're there for the highest good. So if we learn to listen more to them, it takes courage to follow either one.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, because the personality is afraid of the rejection and, a lot of other things. And the things that they're going to die if they say no, and of course they're not going to die. They just might change friends. Their personalities, I'm totally convinced that if you ever see a born baby with a frown on their face, it's oftentimes that's just part of their personality. Yes. Some babies come in and they're happy, and they're, no matter what happens around them, they're happy and they're outgoing. Some come in and they're fussy and they don't want to eat and they don't want this and they don't want that. They bring it all with them, and that's their personality. And everybody is different.
From the moment they're born, they are. You're absolutely right.
Exactly. And it's also their personal reality, because it reflects how they see themselves in the world, how they live their lives, and it refers to patterns of thoughts, feelings, self-perception, values, and attitudes. And it's really, it predicts their reactions or responses to people. and whatever stress, whatever way they come. And what happens is oftentimes their unique gifts get buried in all of that. Because unfortunately, a lot of children that come in, all their energy goes into surviving.
Yeah, it's really true. And, once they realize things are beginning to wake up, in my own experience, I had a lot of different abilities, but as I began to wake up, one of the things that came out was I was an artist. I had never painted in my life, taken a class, and as I did this work in a variety of ways, some of which you're describing, I paint and I could do things. This is really exciting for people when they discover these. If they had been born into a family that was loving and all that, perhaps they would have been natural and they would have been whatever. But when it's, as you say, if all they're doing is surviving, and that's all most people do if they're under this kind of duress, all of the abilities and creativity are locked. And you have to, one of the great things about your work, this kind of work, is that's like a plus. You find these hidden talents and abilities that you didn't even know were there, and this is the creative part of that process in the work.
It's a natural part that was able to get through, which is really, really good. And if they can put, it's kind of like learning to live in the world with your personality, your physicality, knowing what essence you are, and then, of course, that ties all into your soulality because it's all coming from there to begin with.
Now, this is that you're using those phrases are all part of the 5 realities. Because you talk about the spiritual essence, which you've gone over, your physicality, which you have gone over, your personality, which we were really going through, then your soulality and your spirituality. Why don't you tie those two together, and then I think we've sort of have been talking about it, but maybe tie it together for people, how that works through the healing.
Well, your relationship with your soul, that's where your expression of feeling all the joy and the sadness, the sorrow, the despair, the passion, and the love to the depths of your being. And we have all kinds of soul things in the world. We have soul music, soul dancing, soul soul food, I should say. And we're always searching for soul mates, and we're selling our soul to the devil, and we're buying our soul back from the devil, and we're healing our souls and searching again, and we still don't have a clue what all that means.
It's really
But
true.
Actually, in all of that, when you think about it, it's all a big desire to know our soul.
Yeah.
And our soul is our inner consciousness.
Yes.
And we have to become aware of its existence because it holds no judgment to how you experience all of your emotions. It only wants you to heal and balance them. And that's where it comes into a constant power struggle between your soul's ego and your personality ego. Because the personality is very demanding and the soul is very patient. Yes. And, of course, people sometimes have to go through what their personality ego demands to discover that's not what they were looking for at all. So, and of course our soul's purpose, everybody wants to know what their purpose is, and of course it really is to experience our true self through our soul essence and to be conscious of it and to evolve into all that we are. And it speaks to us through the whispers. Your soul speaks to you. It whispers when you're in your it whispers when you're in your joy, but it screams at you when you're in your despair.
Yes, it does.
And sometimes we ignore it because our ego wants what it wants when it wants it, regardless if it's good or bad for us. So, and it's about taking inventory probably on what's serving your higher good. Is it getting what you want? And when you know that your soul is speaking to you, it lets you know that you are loved and accepts you the way you are, but not enough to leave you that way. But it will provide.
Good. Well,
but it will provide you with the opportunity to change your patterns that no longer serve your higher good. Because if we don't change the patterns, we just repeat them.
Over and over and over, which you can
over
see
and
every
over
day.
and over. And
a lot of famous people do that. In public sight, they're repeating those patterns and don't even know why. I think
absolutely. And the true essence of our soul is the base of all our knowledge and awareness. And our self-knowledge comes from our experiences and is the foundation of the certainty of who we are. And being aware of our souls tells us it tells us what we're capable of becoming. Yes. So when we do that, because it is the spiritual blueprint when we set out for our earthly journey, and when your belief system is no longer bringing peace to your mind or compassion to your heart, it's time to wake up and do your soul's bidding. That's my philosophy. And
I agree.
What happens is the integration of all of this is how we process the information, how we live in the world, how we deal with our personalities. It's like the other day I was teaching a class and I was telling people that we have to love what we hate about ourselves and love what we love about ourselves. And that was like a shock to their system.
Yeah.
Why would we have to love what we hate? Well, for example, if I'm tired, I'm grumpy. If I'm hungry, if I'm grumpy. If I'm totally focused, I don't want anybody interrupting me because I'm going to take her head off. But, they're parts of who I am, and I love those parts, and I try to modify them, be very aware of them. But yet, there's still parts of me that I would like to change, and I work at it. It doesn't matter. If I'm totally focused and I'm interrupted, I'm going to take her head off, and not to personalize it.
Exactly. It's really true.
It's just knowing who you are and how, if you respond to something or react to something. That's the difference between a masculine essence, oftentimes, or a response, is where I coach people to look at what they can control, because I explain control is such an illusion to begin with. We really are not in control. But to see what is there anything you can do about the issue right now? No. Then let it go.
Yeah.
And try and have them sit with the problem until the answer comes to them, because every problem has a built-in answer. I know that just from experience. And, of course, they want an answer right now, but if people would just put the problem out there, be patient, have faith, the answer will come. It always comes. It may not be the answer they want, but it'll be the answer they need.